Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another long plays. And today, for an hour, I will be looking at StarCraft, which is an entirely unnecessary playthrough, because StarCraft has millions and millions of fans across the world, and everyone knows what it is. But I'm going to do it anyway. Why? Because I fancy it. I fancy doing it, even if nobody watches. So, what we're going to do is we're going to hit good old single player here. And that gives you a choice between StarCraft Original and the Brood War expansion. Since I'm just going to be doing a nice, easy playthrough, I'm going to select the original. As you can see by the registry, we have James or we have Karina. For the purposes of this playthrough, I'm going to be Karina. No, I can't do the voice. Okay, so you'll see here, you have an option to choose a campaign, but you don't really, because you can't carry on as the Zerg or the Protoss if you haven't completed the Terran campaign. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to click on that Terran, and it will give us a nice little opening screen, basically explaining what's going on. In the decades since the end of the Guild Wars, the oppressive Terran Confederacy has stood unchallenged in its supremacy over colonized space. All of that changed 4 days ago, when a large alien fleet emerged from warp space and laid waste to the unsuspecting Confederate colony of Chau Sara. The Confederacy, fearing that the alien fleet's next target will be the colony of Mar Sara, has sent you to intervene. Acting as magistrate, you are to safeguard the colonists and keep their state of panic from escalating any further. And we're at boot camp, the office of a colonial magistrate on Mar Sara. Let us begin.
Welcome to Mar Sara, Magistrate.
Thank you.
The equipment demonstration you requested is prepared and may be initiated at your convenience.
So already the game has...
Select Start to begin the demonstration. You may skip the demonstration
I forgot that bit.
by selecting Skip Tutorial.
This is classic sort of Blizzard kind of gameplay. In the early days...
Whenever you feel you are ready, you may select Start.
Are you sure you don't want to begin? Are you sure you don't want to hit start? Classic Blizzard gameplay. In the early days of gaming, you'd have manuals, and I believe StarCraft did have a manual, but...
Any time is fine.
I have never come across this. Maybe I should just leave it here. It reminds me of a Stanley parable when you get you decide to just stay in a cupboard forever. I'll just stay on this screen forever.
You're okay to go.
Am I? That's very kind. But anyway, we'll carry on with this. So.
The T-280 SCV is the cornerstone of our hostile environment construction and resource gathering operations.
Roger that.
In order to build a thriving colony, numerous SCVs are necessary. You can build additional SCVs at a command center.
So this is what I was talking about before I was rudely interrupted. Blizzard took an idea that somebody else had come up with, and they polished it up real nice. I say it in every video I do about Blizzard, that's what they're really good at. Taking an idea and making it palatable for the masses. So what we have here is our SCV. We have been given explicit instructions, and I guess we better follow them.
Orders received.
You right click on the minerals, and that little guy will head on and harvest them. Simple stuff, yeah? You'll also notice we have a pile of marines about. We'll deal with that in due course. Let's train an SCV. These are your various buildings. You click on them to receive information about them. And this level is pretty much like Doom's first level. It introduces you to the absolute bare basics of how to do something.
You must have enough supply depots to support them.
So supply depots,
SCVs to build additional supply depots.
they're like farms, you know? You build a structure, and let's just put it up there. But yeah, it's very simple, very easy, and it's one of the reasons StarCraft is so popular, you know? It's a game that anyone can pick up and play. Anyone. But the skill ceiling, oh my goodness. It's so high. Unbelievably high. You know, I remember playing my brother back in the 90s and thinking to myself, wow, like, just cannot compete, you know. He was doing things that just seemed magic to me with the Zerg. Speaking of the Zerg, we should probably go out and greet them, shouldn't we? After receiving a transmission, you can use the spacebar to center. Well, that did nothing, because we're already there.
Right away, sir.
So, what shall we do?
Orders received.
We'll have him on minerals as well. Let's take some of these boys out. You'll also note, it's not a smooth 60 frames per second despite being a remaster.
Speak freely, sir. I'm not sure you know what you're doing. If you're going to send us into hostile territory and you want us to defend ourselves, then use the attack command. But if you want us to ignore enemy fire and go exactly to the spot you targeted, then use the move command. Now, which'll it be?
Friendly people, huh? The Colonial Marines have the ability to attack move, as does every offensive unit in the game. So you can see there in the tooltip on the right hand side, just explaining everything. As I was saying before about the frame rate, the reason that StarCraft isn't tied to like 60 frames a second or whatever is because this version of StarCraft is actually compatible with the original, which is incredible, you know, an incredible feat of engineering. So this is the original engine, you know. So we click and drag to select a pile of units, and we can either right click, oh my goodness, our first kill, whatever that was, or we can tell it to attack either by hitting A on the keyboard, or that button there. And we'll bring them forward and just say, hey, have at it. So let's just tell them to venture out into the darkness. You guys, you can venture out into that corner. And you'll see some aliens here. Some unknown, weird xenomorph-like creatures that remind me of the Alien series. And the pathfinding isn't perfect, because it's a game from 1998, you know? And obviously they can't walk off into space. That would be a very bad idea.
Your forces are under attack.
And you'll see we've lost a fella there, because we only sent a few people out to deal with that incursion, rather than the bulk of the force. We were all sat there doing nothing, you know, scratching themselves probably. Actually, that would be a bit difficult in those combat suits. There's some more. What is that? It's a Zergling. And you can see the obvious disparity. These guys get to attack from range and do so effectively, while the Zerglings, they close the distance quickly and end it up close and personal. So now that we've seen the incursion, these weird looking creatures, we can just order our units to sweep the rest of the map with attack move, and we can leave them to it, you know. Let's train ourselves some SCVs, and we shall construct a Vespian Gazer. There's some Zerg over there. Goodbye. I think that's it. There may be some up here. There's some. It's 3v2.
Your forces are under attack.
Yep, we've dealt with the incursion, and the entire map has been explored. You'll also note that we've trained our SCV, and he's going to build a refinery, which is like a gold mine from Warcraft. We're going to build it on top of that. Nice and easy. And he'll construct that for us. Now, we can also train multiple units. This is a feature that was introduced and differs from Warcraft 2. And that's the game I'll be comparing to it throughout this playthrough. Because it was the next big RTS, you know? It's essentially a spin-off of the Warcraft series, you know, StarCraft. They were like, hey, Warcraft, but in space.
Job's finished.
The refinery processes raw Vespene gas, converting it into a form which your SCVs can gather.
So, we'll hit the game menu and hit mission objectives. We need to build 3 supply depots. We've got our refinery and 100 Vespene gas. So, we'll take this guy. And
Not
we
enough minerals.
won't build a command center. That's one of the big ones. You'll note this is one of the important parts
Orders received.
of an RTS is resource management. You'll see I went to build the supply depot and it was just like, no, you can't do that. So you want to be in a position where you could train units and build structures as you see fit, but the resources themselves are limited. That refinery will give us 4,900 and then it will be expired, at which point it will give us gas at a much reduced rate because it's all tapped out. The crystals, on the other hand, the mineral fields I should say, they, once they're expended, are gone. So you also have a sort of limited time and a limited amount of resources on each map. And there's no sort of like a marketplace or whatever. Also, you'll note the remaster, as you can see, has zoom in and zoom out, which I totally didn't hit by accident. So that's the insert and delete keys there. You can also use the mouse wheel, but I'll stop doing that now because it's exceptionally annoying. I just play in the max zoom out, you know, the default sort of setting, because that's what the game sort of looked like before. With regards to the remaster, other than, you know, sort of upscaled, you know, art and stuff, and the widescreen.
This includes the equipment demonstration.
Okay.
There will now be a fully catered reception.
Fully catered reception? I'ma get me some sandwiches. And you wait briefly and then there's the gong. But yeah, the remaster itself, what it did, other than the widescreen support, was it basically polished up StarCraft so that it looked like it did when we first played it. I played this on launch day, you know? And if I was to look at the remaster and not look at the original, you know, say I've only got the original in my mind, I'd look at the remaster and I'd think, oh, they added widescreen. And that would be it, you know? But in reality, it looks so much better. So much better. StarCraft had a fixed resolution, and the units were a lot more pixelated, and it's done really well to sort of bring out the detail of everything while retaining largely true to the original assets. So we've got our standard victory screen, and Karina has destroyed the Jormungand brood of unidentified creatures. But when we clicked on them, they were clearly Zerg. And you've got your various tabs showing you units, structures, resources and such. Let's carry on to the next briefing. Wasteland. Hey, an interplay game.
Adjutant online. Good evening, Magistrate. I'll fill you in on what's been happening. Confederate traffic has increased substantially within the system due to the recent Protoss destruction of the Chow Sara colony. The Confederates have tightened security on all outlying systems, and it's likely that this colony will be locked down as well. An encrypted Confederate transmission came for you while you were at dinner. Replaying transmission.
Not while I was eating my sandwiches.
I'm General Edmund Duke of the Confederate Security Forces Alpha Squadron. The Confederacy has quarantined this entire planet, and we'll proceed with a lockdown within 48 hours. You're to relocate your core colonists to the outlying wastelands. Now, I know there won't be any problems with these new arrangements.
He does declare he's a sovereign gent.
Transmission ended. I have contacted the local marshal, James Rayner. Rayner has agreed to meet your personnel en route and escort them to the new wasteland site.
And that's the end of the briefing. So these briefings, you know, you can choose to listen to them, and they provide interesting sort of contextual information and story elements and such. But more interestingly, I'll show you in the next mission actually. Well, this one. I'll show you rather than tell you. Show, don't tell. So, we gotta find Raynor, build a barracks, and train 10 Marines. Easy enough, right? It is. You can select multiple units by clicking and dragging. Alternatively, you can hold control and click on a unit and select multiple units of that type.
Marines into the wasteland. These Confederates think they can push anybody around.
Okay, Terran SCV.
Go, go.
I don't like your attitude. So I'm sending everybody out with attack move, which is probably inadvisable because as you can see, that SCV has wandered ahead. It doesn't really have formations in StarCraft, but we've not far to go.
Howdy, boys. I'm Jim Raynor, Marshal of these parts.
And you'll see that we are in a camp. Oh, get back! Whew. That was a good save. Well done, Marshal. So, what happened there, other than the Zerg ambush, which was interesting, we'll just select all those SCVs and bring them down to the base while I'm talking. Blathering, you know. Uh-oh.
Let's move.
We missed one.
Rock and roll.
Get those Marines down there. There we are. Problem dealt with. Now, you'll notice two things, and I'll explain them.
Commander.
First is that we had a cutscene in-game.
Sounds fun.
It does sound fun, Jim. Thanks very much for that contribution. The game will pause on occasion and update you mid-story and sort of add little plot elements and bits and pieces and just keep you sort of honed in. And it's nice that way.
Outstanding.
This wasteland has a real sort of Fallout vibe to it, I think. Fallout having come out the year before, I believe.
Go, go. Let's move.
More Zerglings. And yes, I lost a soldier to that.
Outstanding.
Because I was moving and not attack moving. Not the right move. Raynor, do you wanna...
Time you're ready.
Yeah, come help out. He's in what's called a Vulture. It's a wheeled vehicle which fires explosive canisters. And is pretty neat. Look at that. Bye bye Zergling. So we're just going to explore a bit of the map, to be honest, you know. And with the attack move here, you see that they open out and they fire at the Zerglings. The second thing I wanted to point out, Jim, get out of there. Thank you. Jim must survive, so we want the Marines to be expendable. We don't want Jim Raynor, you know, involved. Yes, the Zerglings can burrow. So, you saw earlier with those SCVs, like some Zerglings just popped out of nowhere, seemingly. It was because they buried themselves into the ground. This is also a little different. Let's just sacrifice our Marines to get rid of these. Oh, fine, Jim, help.
Go ahead,
Right.
Commander. Jacked up and good to go. Rock and roll.
This is a slightly different
Outstanding.
sort of level, so to speak. It's slightly higher. And
Rock and roll.
StarCraft itself doesn't really have that kind of verticality to it. But it does give the illusion of that by changing how Fog of War works and so on, and how much you can see of the map. So, for instance, see, I can see none of that. If I send a Marine up there, go on, yep, suddenly, oh, I'm uphill, I can see a lot more. It's a nice little touch, and something that Warcraft 2 didn't have.
Raynor here.
Obviously, you've got your isometric perspective as well. Now, back to the base. These guys have been happily mining away. Let's just send him out. And we will construct ourselves a barracks. The barracks can be used to train Marines and various other units. And that is what we need to do. Because if you look at our mission objectives, train 10 Marines. So, Jim Raynor's fine. I could probably show you the Vulture's
Commander.
little bombs. I mean, we don't need them. He's got what's called spider mines.
Right on.
You can lay a spider mine
This should
at a
be
specific point in the ground, and it'll bury itself, and that will clamber out when it sees an enemy and explode in their face. So, he's used all his mines. Obviously the mines won't affect friendly units, so we can just drive through.
This should be good.
It should be good, Rayner. If anyone turns up there, they also have a small line of sight. So, the fog of war.
This should be
Oh,
good.
there's some Zerglings, Jim. We don't want you taking some damage.
Go, go, go.
So, we shall send in the Marines, who are also a bit worse for wear.
Time you're ready.
This might be a bad idea.
Infantry units such as Marines can be trained at this facility.
So what we'll do is we shall train some Marines. You'll also note in the top left hand corner 2 of 10 Marines. Not for long.
Anytime you're ready.
It counted the Marines that existed.
This is Jimmy.
So there we go, we dealt with them.
Raider here.
No losses.
Me, boy. Right on. Oh yeah.
I just want to get rid of all the Zerglings, you know.
Sounds fun.
Nasty pieces of work.
Right on.
And we can't get round there,
This should
so
be
we'll go up here. To this. Oh, they were right there waiting for us.
Oh yeah.
But what have we uncovered? This is Blizzard being very kind. Say you've somehow messed up.
This should
It's possible. We're only human, you know. And you run out of resources. Because resources aren't exactly plentiful here.
Raider here.
Ah, I see more Zerglings.
Go ahead,
Ah,
Commander.
let's bring out our Marines that we've trained from the barracks. Bring them over. And we'll take this guy. We'll send him back to work. You also note there's no Vespene Gazer here. Geyser, you know what I mean. So we're just focusing on crystals.
You want a piece of me, boy?
Mineral fields.
Something to shoot.
Now, by the time that Marine gets out there, another one will be trained. I'm going to leave one there, just to be on the safe side.
Anytime you're ready.
Oh, that's my phone. I could have sworn I turned off notifications.
You want a piece of me,
Let's
boy?
have a look. I did turn off notifications. Strange. I should just temporarily mute that. You know, because I'm a super sociable person and loads of people want to talk to me. Not. There we are, that's dealt with.
This should be good.
So, that's pretty much the whole map cleared of Zerg, much to our satisfaction.
Right on.
So all we've got to do now is train 3 more Marines. Simple stuff, really. Now, if we wanted, we could take this little Terran, SCV, and we could construct a command center up here. That's one way of doing it. But, if we wanted to be really clever, we can take this, and we can hit lift off.
Piece of me, boy.
Lift off will cause the command center to rise into the air, and we can land it in the appropriate spot near the mineral field, and that will fly over of its own accord, and a number of the Terran buildings can do that. It's an ability that's
Piece of me, boy.
pretty much unique to the Terrans, I believe, but it's not going to get there and settle down by the time we train that final Marine. Let's just cancel that so that we can watch this do its spectacular landing. Look at that thing fly! You'll also note, I'll just go quickly, if you go to the options... Oh, there's a new options screen courtesy of the remaster. There isn't a difficulty level. You just play StarCraft, you know? There is no easy, medium, hard. So, that's why the early levels are so forgiving, because the more you play it, the more difficult the levels get. Might be why I'm taking my sweet time with these ones as well, you know? So there it has, landed, and you'll see the SCVs are like, hey, we know where that is, and they're off. So we'll train our final Marine. What I'm interested in seeing, genuinely interested, I'm not sure what will happen here. Will they go for the nearest crystal source after... No, they'll return to the previous crystal source. If you just want them to go back, you select them all and just hit the minerals nearby, and they'll start mining that one instead. There wasn't much left of that anyway, just 500. So that's 10 of 10 Marines trained in victory. We shall move on. Easy enough. Could have done it in 5. Took 10 minutes. Backwater Station. Office of the Colonial Magistrate, Marsara Colony.
Receiving incoming transmission. Comlink established.
Hey, what's up, man? Got your refugees tucked in nice and tight? Provided you can sidestep any more surprises from our Confederate friends and we can keep them away from those critters, they should have an easy time.
Priority alert. Backwater station under attack by unknown alien organisms. Distress beacon activated at 0658. Alerting Confederate headquarters on Tarsonis. Stand by for incoming transmission.
We've already received the distress beacon from Backwater, and we'll take care of it. You just sit tight. You'll be notified if there's anything we think you need to know.
Damn! Listen, if we wait for Confederate reinforcements, that station's dust. I'll head out there now and do what I can. You send in some militia, and we'll save those folks. Trust me.
So already, you're starting to sort of get a feeling for factions. And you sit there quietly, and you listen as they go back and forth and they discuss things and they bicker with each other. And it's a nice little sort of story-based introduction as to with regards to what you're doing. So we have to eradicate the alien infestation and keep old Jim Raynor alive. I think we can do that, can't we, folks? Let's give it a try.
Boys, time to kick some serious butt.
Hell yeah! Apple pie and kicking butt. And as you can see, we have a Vespene Gazer, we have some Marines, and we've got our barracks. So, you know, we're in a good spot already. It's like a nice little setup for us. So, we have to eradicate the alien threat.
Yes, sir. Roger that.
But there's also something worth noting here. I love this level because for me, the first 2 levels are just the introduction. It's sort of like, I mean, the whole Terran campaign is like a tutorial, but
Yes, sir.
it's teaching you, almost stealthily teaching you, how to play an RTS. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. But the first most obvious thing is, have a look at our mineral field there. That is not a big mineral field. It's enough to sort of give us the basic, you know. We can build refineries and train a few units. But long term,
Not enough minerals.
that's going to happen. We're going to run out. And we're not going to have a sustainable colony,
This is Jimmy.
which will force us to branch out.
Rock and roll.
So you can't just sit tight. StarCraft won't let that happen.
You want a piece of me, boy?
So
Rock and
we'll just head up here,
go, go, go.
and we can see we've got the higher ground here, and that Zergling appears to have spotted us,
Commander,
but it can't do anything about it.
roll. Go, go, go.
We can though.
Outstanding.
We can take that Zergling out.
Go, go.
We have the high ground. Right, those Zerglings appear to have gone elsewhere.
Go, go, go.
There's a number of them,
And roll.
but they don't appear to be a threat currently.
Go, go, go.
So we've got that nice little plateau scouted.
Yes, sir.
We didn't have enough minerals to build the refinery, and you'll spot this. This was a mistake on my part, and it's worth pointing out. The minerals and gas that you use is only expended when the SCV gets there. So if you say, oh, build this, it won't automatically deduct from your resources.
Reporting for duty.
So I went and I trained some Marines while that guy was heading up. And the game just said, well, you don't have the resources anymore. I thought it was complaining because I couldn't train another Marine,
Job's finished.
when in reality he was up there trying to build that and couldn't. It's all one big balancing act. You'll also note I'm not taking Jimmy out here. You're just staying put nice and easy in the base, you know? Because if Raynor dies, the mission's over, regardless of what else we do.
SCV good
Now,
to go, sir.
this is the creep. And I don't mean the Radiohead song. There's a sizable force there. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it safe. Much like every other long play that I do,
Good to go, sir.
I'm taking it slow and steady. And you can send multiple people to a refinery. But you'll see now, if there's a guy in there, he has to wait. So there's only so many
Sir.
that you can do before eventually it just becomes inefficient and there'll just be a big queue of SCVs waiting outside the refinery. I think we'll have 2 more SCVs and that'll give us a decent sort of production level.
SCV good to go, sir. Yes, sir.
Wrong
I
one.
read you.
Easily
Right
done.
away, sir.
So, we could either venture out into the wasteland there. Oh, looks like we attracted some attention. So the Zerg already decided they were gonna come out. Well, we can hit them where it hurts. Let's just head out there and take that out. That's a creep colony. All of the Zerg buildings are described in their campaign, which is the next one after the Terran campaign, and is substantially harder than the Terran campaign.
Orders received.
Because not only are you fighting with a brand new force, with a completely different... Hey! What's that? This Zergling is gonna die. It's in the way. You're surplus to requirements. Oh dear. Bit of a mistake there. You see what I did there? I right-clicked to move, and the Marines would move there while still under attack. I should have used attack move. They would have stopped what they were doing and dealt with the Zerg. So if we come up here, you'll see that the creep is retreating, and that the building structure looks skeletal. Or skeletal, if you're a normal human being. Now,
For the rescue. We've been holed up in these bunkers for days hiding from the Zerg.
we've got ourselves 2 new SCVs that were hiding in a bunker.
Affirmative.
We'll put them to good use. And we have captured that bunker. What does a bunker do? Nothing. But you can pack it full of Marines. And then it becomes useful. We'll take them out. Because it's stationary, they don't need to be there. The whole point of a bunker is that they have to destroy the bunker before they get to your Marines. And you'll see now, there's an entire base here.
Need a light.
And there's also some other gentlemen here that we can make use of.
Got my attention.
These are fire bats. And I'm gonna put just 2 in there
Want to turn up the heat.
and 2 in there.
Fired up.
I'll have him come with the Marines. And
Yes.
this is what I was talking about with the resource issue. What we've got up here is essentially a second base.
My attention. You got it. Naturally. Slamming.
This is an academy. Academies can train upgrades for your Marines and firebats and stuff. And we've got ourselves another barracks. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move Jimmy up next to that one there. And they're not quite done with that mineral field yet, so we'll wait till they're complete and they're just sort of standing around looking useless. I think the Vespene Gazer is also okay. Yeah, it's still alright for the time being. So, we'll train up some Marines. And we'll take our barracks from here. And we'll land it somewhere that's not with trees. You'll see now, he's not doing anything. He just stood there waiting.
I read you.
So we'll take him,
Roger
and
that.
we'll send him to work up there. And this is what happens. You run out of resources, and you're forced to relocate to a different base. It's quite an interesting bit of tactical movement, I guess you'd call it. Right. We shall now build a comsat station.
Upgrade complete.
We've upgraded. We're not going to research that. I never use it. It allows, you know, a massive increase in firepower at the expense of almost all your hit points. I never use that. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take all these guys
Right away, sir.
and just going to leave one guy on that mineral field. He can just mine away what's left there. And you'll see, because of the lay of the land,
Add-on complete.
we know that the Zerg aren't going to come from there. Because their ground forces can't get through there. And yes, I specified ground forces. Our barracks has landed. Let's train up some more Marines.
I read you.
We'll take this guy. And you can see in the top right hand corner it says 32 out of 36. Time to build ourselves another supply depot.
Orders, Captain.
You as well. We'll have a second supply depot there. Now the comsat station slowly charges up energy. What that allows us to do is a detector sweep. So we can have a look at the territory and see what's about. Let's see, it doesn't have enough energy for more. It temporarily reveals it. So we can see what's what. This is beautiful for turtling players like me. For those who don't know the terminology, turtling is when you decide to sit back behind your defences and build up your army. And you're an exceedingly defensive player, and generally it's discouraged because, you know, it's kind of dull for most people, especially if you're watching a long play. So I'll try and move things along a little bit swifter. That Vespene Gazer's fine. We've got a pile of troops. We'll just, we'll finish training those, I guess. And we've got enough for another scanner sweep. So let's see what's up there. Aha! Now you can see that guy is a Zerg Hydralisk. That's a ranged Zerg unit. So he will be a bit of a nuisance. There's also something up there worth investigating. But we'll get to that. Instead of playing it defensively, I'll unload my fire bats from the bunkers. And let's just go and kick some proverbial butt, like Jimmy said, eh? So, the first attack move command will be over to there. You'll see there's a maximum selection amount. So there's a pile of people who are not, you know, being controlled and are not going into battle. Generally, I just try and, you know, control everyone in waves. So you have a pile of Marines, and here you can see an issue. There's some bad pathfinding. The original pathfinding is still there. It's not terrible, but it's not perfect. You can see the fire bats are doing a decent job, but because they're up close and personal, the Zerg are just like, yep, you're dead. There we are. And the sustained firepower of the Marines is giving the Zerg problems. But the issue here, obviously, is you don't want to bottleneck your forces. You see how, if they're just stood there, the other guys, they're sort of milling around and they're like, hey, we can't get anywhere. In fact, we'll take some of these guys and we'll bring them down. and deal with the Zerg incursion there. That might not be enough forces, actually. We'll see. Yeah, should be good enough. We'll lose a few, but yeah, that's that dealt with. So all that's left to do, really, is the cleanup operation.
Yes.
Yes. So there's a Zergling over there. Let's take that out. And you can see how the fog of war there prevented me from seeing all the Zerglings. So, Raynor has survived. We have dealt with the Zerg base, but there's still whatever that is up there. So let's go take a look.
What the hell did they do to that command center?
Well, he's against it, so I guess everyone else should be.
Yes. You got my attention.
It's a command center, but it's infested and belongs to the Zerg. So, we'll take that out. And that's the Zerg eradicated.
Receiving incoming transmission.
Marshal Raynor, by destroying the vital Confederate installation, you and your men have violated standing colonial law. As of right now, you're all under arrest. I suggest you throw down your weapons and come peaceably.
Are you out of your mind? If we hadn't burned that damn factory, this entire colony could have been overrun. Maybe if you hadn't taken your sweet time in getting here.
Now, I asked you nice the first time, boy. I didn't come here to talk with you. Now throw down them weapons.
Guess you wouldn't be a Confederate if you weren't a complete pain in the ass.
Victory! And some more establishment dialogue there, in-game, as you can see. This is something that Warcraft 2 didn't do. The folks who designed StarCraft were largely behind Warcraft 2 as well, and they said, hey, how about in-game cutscenes? There's an idea! So, back to our victory screen, and we can see that we took out the Garm Brood fairly easily, which makes sense, but it took a little longer. And this is something that will happen. Also, cutscene! But we're gonna skip that. There's some video cutscenes in between various bits and pieces of the game. They're okay. Some of them are quite good.
Receiving incoming transmission. Comlink established.
I got your message, Magistrate. And frankly, I don't care what you have to say about Confederate regulations. You damn fringe world yokels are all alike. Don't know where your loyalties lie. Y'all have a real good day now, you hear?
Transmission ended. The report you requested is ready. 16 outland stations have reported sightings of the alien invaders identified as Zerg. The Confederates have arrested all standing militia forces and continue to avoid action against the Zerg. 3 stations have fallen to the Zerg already. We've been unable to locate any source of military relief except the extremist faction known as the Sons of Korhal. Their liaison is holding online.
Uh-oh.
Good day, Magistrate. My name is Arcturus Mensk, and I represent the Sons of Korhal. You're familiar with the Confederate propaganda surrounding my group, but your reputation suggests you'll see past it. It's never been our practice to operate in any one place for long, but these Zerg don't look like they're going to wait. I'm going to make you an offer, Magistrate. I'd like to help you out by sending down a number of transports to your colony and evacuating any survivors. You know, of course, that my organization operates outside the bounds of Confederate law. That's why they spread their lies and misinformation. If you decide to accept our help, you'll be branded as an outlaw too. But it's a chance to save those people. Time to make a stand, Magistrate.
Ending transmission. Priority alert. Evacuation zone under attack by Zerg forces. Distress beacon activated at 12:20.
And there we go. This is where the game ramps up somewhat, and I'll not have time to play this entire level, but it's a simple objective. The Sons of Korhal have been introduced, Arcturus Mengsk, and the paths are linear in StarCraft. You know, you just play along and the story develops. You don't have options where you can like choose, I do not side with Mengsk, you know. So, we just survive. And that's a sudden ramp up in difficulty. The game is essentially saying, look, I've given you the basic tools, let's see you put them to good use. So let's do that.
Hey, this thing's on fire! You ought to send an SCV out here to repair it. He can fix my backup too while he's at it.
That sounds like a plan, doesn't it? But first,
I read you.
let's put these SCVs to work.
Right away, sir.
The repair button comes on automatically if there's a building damaged and you right click on it. Now, we have some forces in the middle here,
We can take cover in these bunkers if things get too dicey.
which is precisely what we'll do. We'll send some men over, you go into that bunker, you head up there. We're preparing our defenses because there's going to be waves of Zerg
Rock and roll.
that will attack us.
Go, go, go.
So,
Standing by.
we'll have 4 guys in the bunker, and we'll repair that bike as well. We want to repair you, that's what we want.
Yeah?
There's a random vulture there as well. We'll send him out too.
Give me something to shoot.
As you can see, it didn't take long before there was an attack.
Give me something to
That
shoot.
marine out there needs company, I think, so we'll send another marine out. We'll also immediately get that upgrade. Except for one problem. What have I been focusing on? Defenses. What do I need? Resources. So I'll build some SCVs, get myself a Vespene refinery, and that SCV has just stood doing nothing, so we'll send him off to get some minerals. And you can see sort of the addictiveness, I guess. You know, you get swept up in the construction and creating of a base, maintaining of a base. We might even explore outward. I don't think we will. I think we'll just turtle up, you know. But that's me, you know. I always do that.
Sir. Yes, sir.
So, we don't have quite enough. We'll just wait for one of those SCVs to come over with the correct stuff. You could even say the right stuff. That's a reference to a movie.
SCV good to go, sir. Roger that.
Alrighty, we've got our refinery up and running. So what we want to do is provide ourselves with a solid economic base during the early part of the game. The waves of Zerg attackers will get more and more difficult in Marsara, as the signpost says. So we want to be prepared by having a base of operations
Good to go, sir.
that's full of resource management, so that we have an exceeding number of like gas and minerals with which to... Oh, there was another attack there. There's another Zergling arriving. Fortunately, they can whittle away at that. There's no ranged attackers yet, so that's good. Once the ranged attackers appear though, they might not last long, those marines. Okay, we've got another SCV there. Let's send him to the refinery and train 2 more. And what you're seeing now is what's called APM, or actions per minute. You'll see that I have actually sped up. I'm clicking on a lot of things, I'm viewing a lot of things. My APM's pretty poor. You know, I'm not a good RTS player. I enjoy playing RTS games, but I'm not a good player. Not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm decidedly average. You know, I'm just taking things in my stride, and I'm a chronic turtler. So, we're just waiting until we have
Right away, sir.
the appropriate sort of degree of production. You'll notice I cancelled that SCV. The reason for that is I'm going to send this one out to build another supply depot because we've got 33 out of 34 there.
SCV good to go.
So, not only is this level teaching you, you know, about defensive structures, it's also asking you, put everything that you previously did into action. It's like a teacher telling you, hey, you've learnt this, you've learnt that, now put it all together for me. That's what we're doing. You'll notice I wanted to swiftly get that upgrade. The reason for that is that these Marines will be much more useful, and the bunkering will also be more useful if the Marines have that little bit longer within which they can attack due to their enhanced range. Turns out I can train another SCV. I think I'll build one more supply depot. That'll do for now. That scream definitely doesn't get old over time. Everything else has a sort of fairly neutral sound to it, and then you hit that and it's just some guy screaming at you. I think that's a stock sound. I've heard that, so many times. Hey up, we've got company, and here is our Hydralisk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring those guys back a bit, and I'm going to lure this Hydralisk in. Now, you see, he would have just destroyed all those guys, quite comfortably. And nearly did. I mean, he's a bit worse for wear. So, what we're going to do now is focus on more SCVs. But James, what about troops? We'll get to that. It's still early days. I'm upgrading the weaponry of the Terran Marines now, and I'm going to focus on them.
SCV good to go, sir.
I'm not going to have fire bats.
Yes, sir.
I've decided.
Roger that.
Whether that's inadvisable or not, I'm not sure. But that's what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to run out of time, as in my timer's going to go off in about 8 minutes, and I'm going to keep playing and just sum up my thoughts on this wonderful game.
Reporting for duty.
So, we're in a position now where we're getting a lot of income coming in. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand our defences. I'm going to build another bunker, a second bunker, down here.
Your forces are under attack.
Now, did you hear that noise? Now, those Hydralisks are causing problems. So let's move down here, and we'll have the bunker and the vultures back us up. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, there was a noise there. That was what's called a Mutalisk. Lovely name. It is a flying unit. It can go where it pleases. If it wanted to fly right down through there, it could. And we have these missile turrets to prevent that from happening. So, to prevent our wonderful little sort of thing. See the way I tried to build there? I made a mistake there. You can't build on that. But what we can do is we can build one there. These just prevent aerial creatures from causing issues. So, we've got our bunker up and running. We'll stick 2 of those guys in there. We need some more troops now. So, we have the resources to actually train those troops. The second bunker is up. So what I'll have this guy do is, I don't think in there'll work. Let's go there. One to either side. So if something comes flying in, we'll have some degree of protection. Yeah, another bunker. I'll make 3. Now, there's nobody in that bunker, so we'll take our squishy Marines and we'll put them in there. Now, there's 4 in that bunker, but only 2 there. And as you can see, they're starting to come in earnest now. And the bunkers are taking a few hits. Now, that Marine can head in there. And there's 2 over there, can head into that one. At SCV, I think we can build another bunker, can't we? Let's see if we can find a spot for it. Would it be behind the other 2? Nah, let's stick it there. I mean, it sticks out a little. Well, I don't know where you're thinking of going. That was some terrible pathfinding. And what we'll do...
You want a piece of me, boy?
We'll have him come back. And he can make running repairs to the bunkers. So it's nice to have an SCV sort of about. You know, just to fix things up as they get damaged in combat. You don't want to leave your bunkers ablaze, you know? It doesn't help anybody.
Upgrade complete.
So, the upgrade for our weapons is complete. We could upgrade the armor. There's the aerial attack I was talking about. You see the mutilisks there? They're susceptible to the towers, and as a result, they will be dealt with. I knew it was coming, and the game sort of handily sort of points out, it's like, hey, this is gonna happen. There are flying units, and if you don't realize, hey, our chief resource area is susceptible, then you're punished. Let's repair that tower. That took a bit of damage. That one, yeah, it's in need of a bit of a repair as well. So we got another bunker here, and you just keep doing that. You just keep building up those defenses and repairing defenses. It's a holding position that you're in, you know? You want to be in a position where every attack that comes, you are able to just recover. You'll also note what just happened there. This is depleted. If you look at that number up there, that is only going to go up a tiny little bit now. But that's okay, because we're specialising in Marines. Marines don't cost any gas. So, we'll train this guy. We'll have this guy build a supply depot. And you can build another one as well, and that will allow us to have more forces just lingering around. You'll also note I built a third missile turret, just to be on the safe side. I might build another. Let's just have one out there. Nah, I've changed my mind. It'll be okay. We'll last long enough. Famous last words, I know. It's kind of like, James, why would you not? So, the bunkers can contain 4 units. One of the advisable things to do is have like 3 Marines and a fire bat. So when they get up close in the bunker, they get a burst of fire in their faces, which is, you know, it tends to discourage people, fire. But for the time being... Alright, watch this. Yes, bunkers galore. Really took out. Now you'll also note, because that bunker's sticking out, that was the only one that, you know, fired, because those Hydralisks all focused on that bunker. That's why having that spare SCV or 2 around makes all the difference. You can have him come across and quickly lend repairs. The bunkers seem to be okay, even if the units inside are a bit banged up. So, we've got some more Marines. Can never have too many Marines, eh? We can fit one more in there, can't we? He says selecting 2. And you'll notice I do have some idle units here. Not a good idea. Why would you have a unit idle when you can make him do something? Your troops are always in motion. You'll also note there's a building called a factory. Let's find out what that does. And I think it's time, you guessed it, for another bunker. I'm just gonna go super deep with these bunkers. Just keep them coming. So when units get up to here, they will reach a point where this one will really start laying on the fire. So instead of having 3 bunkers attacking them, they'll have 4. That's only if the Zerglings sort of overwhelm us and get a bit close. So let's take another one of these SCVs. We'll construct. Shock horror. Really good viewing. James builds bunkers, they're 30 minutes. So we've got that up and running. And those bunkers are fine. And those bunkers are also fine. Now, we've been training Marines. We can just select 4 of them. Send them straight in. Easy peasy. Also worth mentioning is that the music of StarCraft is glorious, and these tracks are Terran specific. The Zerg and the Protoss all have their own soundtrack. My alarm has just gone off. I was so involved with the game. The factory, it builds vultures and other units you can build on an adjacent machine shop and so on. But yeah, that's StarCraft. And that's an hour of StarCraft that's just flowing in for me. Like, I just got so swept up in it. It's probably the best RTS of all time. Probably. You know? It's like a three-way tie. It's like you flip a coin. A three-sided coin somehow. And it's either Age of Empires 2, StarCraft, or one of the Command and Conquer games, I guess. It's just like, take your pick.
Complete.
And the reason I love StarCraft so much, other than the fact that it's got a simple sort of style to it, very recognizable graphics, interesting isometric perspective, the story, you know, the story is wonderful. Like, if you actually read into the story and really immerse yourself in the world, it's very, very gripping. And I'm a big narrative fan, so the idea of having these vast campaigns is just wonderful to me. And you can see our defences are holding nicely against these increased Zerg attacks. So yeah, the other thing that's really worth mentioning about StarCraft is that there's 3 races, and they could have been 3 games in their own right. The Terran campaign is just one campaign. There's also the Zerg, there's also the Protoss, 3 different races, 3 different ways of playing the game. Familiar yet different, you know? Let's just watch these Mutalisks get what for, and then I'll quit out. Oh, one of our towers went down. So yeah, if you have any interest in what you've just seen, I have another video about StarCraft, review for Get Off My Lawn, and I recommend everybody play it. It's one of those games, you know, like Mario or Pong or whatever, that I feel everyone should play at least once. I guess I'll see you next week, when I will be playing something that is not an RTS. That's for sure. Until next time.